Everybody, Laurel Boylan here with another episode of our Legacy Leaders Live show. And it's where we share stories of impact, purpose, and prosperity. And today's guest, I'm very happy have gotten to know so well over the last year. And I cannot wait for you to hear her story. Her story brought me to tears the first time I heard the whole story. I'll be real. And now she's taken that story into such an amazing entrepreneurial journey. But more than that, it's all about legacy for her. And for those of us on LinkedIn or on social media, she has really learned and dove into AI and how it can benefit all of us. So I'm going to let her share that part of her story with you and tell you more about what she's doing these days. So I'm going to bring on Alpana Aras, who is a friend of mine that I met here on LinkedIn about maybe a year ago, right, Alpana?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, time flies, right? It's been a year plus, and I
Mm-hmm.
just loved getting to know you and our connection, and I'm just so
Mm.
honored to be here. So thank you for including me in this actually kind of important conversation.
It's a very important conversation. It's about living your legacy and intentionally deciding what your legacy is rather than leaving a legacy after you've died. It's okay to leave something as long as you've lived it along the way and brought people along with you. With that said, what does legacy truly mean to you?
Yeah, that's a great question. And as I was preparing for, chatting with you, I was ruminating on that. So I wanted to
Mhm.
share three things. One is for me, it's just important to leave the world a better place. And I think that sounds sort of simple in some ways, but that's truly important for me, for future generations, for my son, and everybody else, I guess, on the planet. The second is taking a stand through my values and being able to amplify voices that are sometimes not able to speak for themselves and share their stories. And then the third one is, which is really dear and close to my heart, is to empower women to be bold and be seen, which is my tagline for my business. So those are
To
the
be
three.
bold and be seen.
Yes.
I assume and plus I kind of know a little bit about your story, that tagline came from a series of maybe experiences that, I mean, all of us get into our business and really focus on what's important for a reason. Can you take us back a little bit and maybe share a little bit about what brought you to this point?
Sure. So I am originally from India. So I'm an immigrant from India, and I'll take you back down memory lane. So I first came here as a student to do my master's, and I basically came with pretty much nothing. So I had $1,000, two suitcases, my mother's pressure cooker, because no Indian leaves without a pressure cooker.
You brought your mother's pressure cooker to this
Yes.
country? That's hysterical.
And my American dream, because I just knew that America was this land of opportunity where I wanted to come out to. And what really prompted that was just kind of growing up. And I know a lot of women experience this, whether in my country or anywhere in the world. So I didn't feel seen and I didn't feel heard. And I felt invisible. I felt sort of like growing up with patriarchy as somebody who had this rebellious heart. It was really suffocating in some ways. And my path would have been a possible arranged marriage or, some sort of a path that I may not have fully been aligned with. And I just knew that I wanted to explore my individuality, and America was the place that would give me an opportunity to do that. So I essentially got admitted to schools, packed my bags on a one-way ticket, and here I was in the US.
And that was when you were in your early 20s, mid 20s?
Yes. I was in my early 20s. So I was I think about 21 or 22, my son's age now, which is pretty wild.
So have you been in the US ever since then? Or did you come for your master's and have to go back?
Well, I have been here. So I started out on the East Coast, and I had a journey of struggle of a typical student in America. So I worked in the cafeteria. I didn't have a lot of money. So it was sort of like these impoverished early days, but they also taught me a lot. They taught me about resilience, they taught me about taking risks, and in a lot of ways, even just coming to America was a risk in itself. And what when I sort of fast forward into my entrepreneurship days, which came later, it essentially was also my father who had taken a lot of risks. So he was an entrepreneur. However, he quit what was a cushy, comfortable job to start his own business with three young kids. And I'm sure that also took a lot of courage to be able to do that. And although he didn't quite teach me to be an entrepreneur, I felt like that was kind of in my DNA. And that also helped me to get to this place where I am today.
Wow. So what's your master's in? Is it
So my
marketing?
master's was in instructional design, which had
Mm.
nothing to do with art. So I also have a BFA, which is a Bachelor of Fine Art degree from India. And the reason, actually, there's a reason why I ended up doing instructional design. It was also because that was one of the schools that gave me some form of financial aid, without which I could not have made it possible to be in the United States, because a lot of the art schools were private schools. So it was near impossible to, I did get into a bunch of them, but they had zero financial aid. So I basically tried to figure out how am I going to do this where I can make it to the US, and then, later along the way, figure out uh, getting back into art, which is what I did. So I graduated with my master's degree and then ended up getting a job as an artist in the
Mhm.
Midwest. So it was sort of a roundabout way of getting to the field that I wanted. But the interesting thing also is that anything you do doesn't really go to waste in a way, because my instructional design background was essentially helped me also build training programs. So now when I am doing course creation or anything like that, which is analytical, I can also put those that background and those skills to use, because I kind of feel like a lot of times you look at artists as sort of what is it, right brain? Is that right
Mhm.
brain?
Mhm.
So
Correct.
right, I've always thought of myself as left and right brain, being
Mhm.
analytical and strategic as well as creative. And that's kind of been like a really good mix for me to support my clients as a brand strategist and a photographer. So that's kind of where I have landed now. And then you and I spoke about it a little bit before with my new offering right now, which has been stepping into the world of AI and doing AI headshots. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now, which I'm really enjoying, which I didn't really think about it a few years back. But just the option of also being able to do traditional photographs in my studio, as well as doing AI headshots for clients that aren't necessarily close to me, that may not be able to travel to me, or sometimes people that maybe don't want to get in front of the camera for whatever reason.
How do you see the AI headshots or even the traditional photography that you're so good at moving your legacy along? How does that tie in?
Yeah, I feel that one of the big things for most people, whether it's men or women, and since I work mainly with women, is to get visible. Because when you own your business, when you are a service provider, even a professional on LinkedIn, it's so important to be visible. Your headshot, which our little headshot can speak so much about us on any social media platform or even on your website. So to have a quality image of you that can make a lasting impression is so important. And you and I spoke a little bit about this. A lot of times we are judged by our appearance. It's like you go to a book is judged by its cover. You go somewhere and you grab something off the shelf because you are attracted to that particular book or object, even on the shelf of a store, right? Like you walk into a grocery store, you don't know anything about, say, wines, and there might be a certain label that you're drawn to. And it's similar to us as people. Our images speak for us when we cannot speak for ourselves. So I think that's like the first thing. And then when I do images for my clients in a traditional studio sort of a setup, there is a lot of prep that goes into getting them ready for the photo session. One is the mindset piece, and then the second is actually the getting ready with what you're going to wear, because that all plays a role. What you're going to wear, your hair and makeup, and all those elements to make you camera ready. And then the next piece is also posing the clients, right? Because when they step in front of the camera, even the most confident person in their field, whatever their zone of genius is, can often feel some form of anxiety when they're being seen by somebody else. And I always recommend that to anybody because it gives you an opportunity to go through that whole transformation. It might be a bit of work, but it can be transformational. So something can also help you on the inside. So that,
Well, that's interesting because I've never heard mindset talked about by a photographer before. Elaborate on that just a little bit.
yeah, so the mindset piece is important because what I do in my work with clients is in the prep part, I actually schedule a call with my clients so I can get to know them and maybe sometimes their fears if they're able to share them with me. So once I know, I can actually help them during the photo session. Like I've had clients who said, "Oh, I don't like my left side or my right side." And sometimes you can't see that, but that piece is important to them. And then that's also the piece of helping them feel seen and heard before they step in front of the camera. So it also helps build trust. So that piece also can factor in. And then the other piece is after the shoot, when once they pick their images, oftentimes I will also recommend that they get some sort of a physical tangible piece from their photo session so that they can have it in their homes. And I will show you one
Oh,
of
I'd love to
mine.
see.
I lead by example. Let me see if I can back up. So this is in my office,
Oh, I love
and it's
it.
kind of like a big portrait, framed portrait of me. And I'm not shy about having it in my space. And it's almost like a permission slip for women also who tend to not always want photos of themselves in their home. right? So when they see it and uh, I make a recommendation, and it's completely up to them whether they want to get it or not. Oftentimes, it's something that sparks something in them, and it ties into the visibility piece again. So it's a way for them to show up in their everyday lives and also for their family to be able to experience that. And what a beautiful legacy that is, because I grew up with all these amazing portraits in my home of, but I have to say they were mostly men, like grandfathers, right? But why not women? So that's the piece for me that is really dear to my heart, is to be able to help women also own their power and be able to show up, physically in their spaces. So that's
I
the
know. You kind of described a little bit of my own personal journey as I've been learning to utilize social media, specifically LinkedIn. When I first got on LinkedIn 4 years ago, I was so hesitant to put a picture of myself. I always felt it needed to be a quote or a beautiful graphic or a picture I get off the internet that I doctor up that has to do with my post. It wasn't about me because I felt like this isn't Facebook. This isn't me, saying, hey, look at me. It's all about my messaging for my business. But as I have gone through my entrepreneurial journey, I look at the other people that I follow, businesses that I'm aligned with, and when they're not putting themselves up there, at least on social media, it feels a little bit lack of trust. And the
yes.
more that they show up, put their own picture with their own post, the more I feel a connection to that business owner, that person, the more I start to trust, especially when they add video to their feed, because video really helps you feel like you're getting to know that person more so than just putting a stationary picture up there. And it's been something I've had to get comfortable with because I
Yeah.
was extremely uncomfortable putting pictures of myself on these educational posts. But now I realize it's the purpose. I am not doing this because I want people to look at me. I'm putting the picture there to increase the trustability of the information that I'm sharing. And it's just been a interesting mindset shift as far
Yeah.
as the
I
importance of pictures, especially on social
100%.
media.
100%. And I completely agree with that. I started my journey behind the camera, right? So I was so hesitant to step in front of the camera. And what started my journey was I actually did a business program where I had to build an online summit. And I was so freaked out about stepping in front of the camera. And I worked with celebrities, photographed famous people, all sorts of things, and I was able to tell them what to do. But for me to actually come in front of the camera, that was really scary for me. But when I did this summit, it shifted things for me, and this was, I think, back in 2019. And that sort of been the shift in my journey. And I completely agree. I actually started putting more images of myself because traditionally photographers were comfortable behind the camera, as I said. So we didn't really put a lot of photos of ourselves. And I think back then there was also kind of like this whole, I don't know if it was like a narcissistic thing to put yourself out there, but it shifted now. And when I joined LinkedIn, I didn't feel like I sort of fit in because I'm a creative and it seemed like a lot more buttoned up. So it definitely took me a while to find my voice on LinkedIn as well. And there was one post that I did where I put a photo of myself in sort of like a lingerie-ish outfit. Not that I'm suggesting everybody does it, but that I did that on Facebook first, and then I decided, what the heck, I'm just gonna go for it and put it on LinkedIn, which I did. And on Facebook, I just had so many women that messaged me feeling empowered through my photo, which was sort of raw, vulnerable, all those things. And later, there was another woman who also went in and did something similar. So when you say, when you've heard that saying that even if you can impact one person, you've kind of done your
You
job.
made a
So I feel
difference.
that's
That's
also
right.
a part of the legacy piece, right? Like you can empower so many people, but if you can empower even like a handful of people, what an amazing difference. And with my photos also, I feel that that element has also been there for my son, because I have a boy, and I sort of grew up and experienced patriarchy. So I wanted him to also see the shift and model through being the person that, I hoped women would show up like. So that's another piece for me that has been important in the legacy part of it. To
Yes, you shared with me the other day that
Mhm.
your son is all about sharing in all the chores, helping with the dishes. He's just a great kid that you've raised, but in your country, boys were not necessarily taught to do those chores. Boys did certain things and girls did certain things. And so you've kind of switched that, you've stopped that generational training for him and taught him a new way so that as he goes about his life and his relationships down the road, it's different. That's got to feel really good to have made that kind of a shift.
It does, and honestly, it's my country as well as here. I've s- I've seen that with my in-laws as well. So I married into a Caucasian family, and while his parents have been lovely, it's also sort of been that traditional mindset, which I was not prepared for. I just thought that America, for some reason, would be completely different from the way things were in India. But I feel that the more we shift things, it can shift for future generations.
That's awesome. Well, I just, like I say, you have so much talent and your story inspires me. Hopefully it's inspired those that have taken the time to listen to this. I cannot thank you enough for sharing that. The time has flown by. I would like to wrap up, but I would like you to share with people how can they reach out to you? And then when we're done here in the comments, please put your website or your email or your LinkedIn links so that people can find you because I know that you do free consultations. You have so much light to share with people, and if they're fairly new to LinkedIn, especially building a business, they need a brand, and they need to talk to somebody like you. So, how can people find you?
Yeah, sure. I will drop my info in the bio. And then to wrap up, I quickly wanted to share the AI piece of it that I have stepped into now. So currently, I am creating these amazing creative AI portraits for clients. And I have a beta offering where you don't even have to step in front of my camera in the studio, and I can help clients all over the world because I just do it virtually. And it's a wonderful opportunity to have high quality images for your brand, for your website, for social media, profile photos, anything that you need. And I'll drop the link in the comment. But my website is alpanaaras.com, which is my first name, last name.com. And I'm also on the socials with the same name. I think on Instagram, I'm alpana.aras. And my hope is that, women will feel empowered to, stop hiding. At some level, everybody does hide, and be able to show up in their power and get visible. And thank you so much for this opportunity, Laurel.
Thank you so much. I love you. Thank you for sharing your goodness. Thank you for the legacy that you are leaving and that you are living. It's just great. And now that I know we're in the same state, we need to get together.
I know,
I
we're
will
like
be
only
giving
a
you a call.
couple hours away, so let's go do
Yes,
that.
yes.
Yes.
All righty. Well,
Thank
everybody
you.
have a great rest of the week and check back next Wednesday where we'll hear another inspiring story. All right, Alpana. Have a good one. Thank you.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.